The first comment is COVEN forever.
Here we are. Business as usual.
We'll see about that. We will see about that.
Okay.
A lot to discuss.
In the thick of a playoff hunt, biggest story, CJ's back.
Yeah, well, it's a big story. There's a lot going on, COVEN and whatnot. Count all votes even now.
Mm-hmm.
Count all votes even now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that eventually. CJ being here is a big story, but it's not the biggest story.
CJ, your headphones bigger than normal? Or did your
No,
head get smaller?
I got a haircut, so it's probably more pronounced. I normally have much more space covering this
They're
area.
Massive. Those things are massive.
My cans?
Yeah, those cans are. That's like
cans.
70% of face.
They're pretty good. Biodynamic. I recommend them if you're in the market for some new cans.
All right.
The chat is fucking alive with the appearance of CJ.
And they're right. 770 Pros.
Palmer Anderson suggests that maybe your head is smaller, which is making the headphones look bigger. Maybe your body double. Maybe this isn't the real CJ.
We'll measure CJ and then body double CJ at the
pod. We'll have to do all that. Hang on one second. Let me just make sure all my shit is connected before we're going. See, it's not.
Mike, do you think you have a menacing looking mustache right now?
I would hope so.
That's the intent.
That's the intent. Yeah, let's see.
If you're going to have a mustache, you might as well. If it's not menacing, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know if it's menacing, but I think whatever you guys take out of it.
All right, let's do it. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by none other than DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. Brought to you by Kornblau Kornblau, the official law firm of The Process. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of The Process at 302-864-8643. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe, statesidevodka.com. On the show today, boy, it really just does seem like it is the final bunch of games in the regular season, as a win over the Mavericks just couldn't have looked worse for most of the game. So we have that. Joel Embiid skips the MVP showdown with Nikola Jokic, and maybe the most predictable moment for Sixers basketball of the last 10 years. CJ was there in the filter in, but we find out if he was kidnapped by COVEN and the anonymous COVEN member, and what the hell's going on there.
It's got to be COVEN.
No, it's COVEN. Count all votes even now.
No, I know what it stands for, but
yeah,
the word is COVEN.
He says COVEN. You saw the video.
Yeah, but he pronounces a lot of things wrong.
Well, we don't know who it was. It was anonymous.
He calls him Harold Maury.
Yeah, well,
are we going to call him Harold?
I was trying to play it so we could hear him say
Let's CJ produce the show. You don't know how to do it anymore.
He's back. Yes, right. We'll get to it. It's not COVEN, though. It's COVEN. Okay, he's not a witch.
Well, what's COVEN?
Count all votes.
You
count
can
our votes even now.
That's irrelevant.
We'll get to that later. Also, we will get to the Ringer Top 100, as well as your voicemails and emails. We have surpassed 9,000 YouTube subscribers. Now that we know CJ is here, you have to save his job. We need to get to 10,000 by the time the playoffs start. We need 950 more. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe right there and set up notifications. If you're not watching on YouTube, go over to YouTube and subscribe. I did mention Stateside. Man, I have not had a drink in, 30 days now? Something like that, since Lent began. And my first drink will be on stage at Live Ricky 5, as I have a Surfside iced tea and vodka. I think I've decided on the straight Surfside iced tea and vodka. Remember, you can get the peach tea and vodka, the iced tea lemonade and vodka, the lemonade straight and vodka, or any other Stateside product, the amazing vodka soda, or just the straight up vodka at statesidevodka.com. We love Stateside. Can't wait to party with Stateside at Live Ricky 5. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Laddie, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name, I say the name, I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. Say the name.
Likes Tricky Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Right to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who has the audacity to tell terrorist groups how to pronounce their names. That is one Mike Levin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. We're the Sixers are playing. We are doing some sort of skit.
Well,
And-
it's better than the basketball right this very second.
Yeah, the basketball was pretty rough
Yeah.
for most of the game. I did write down when was the last time the Sixers contested a shot at one point. And Doc keeps just going to zone thinking, hey, what's worse than a guy not covering his guy? And it's everybody not covering anybody is the answer. It's a soft zone. There's no energy. There's no limbs. They're standing where they're just like standing in the area that they know they're supposed to stand. Like this team, as currently constructed, like should not be in a zone. I understand like giving Embiid the occasional rest thing, whatever, but it's not going to be a success against good shooting teams, which they keep playing good shooting teams. Like they're going to get easy shots. It's not hard to do in the modern NBA to get good easy shots from three out of a zone. Anyway, yeah, Embiid and Harden are back. They didn't look good.
No.
Not in the first half, especially. I thought Harden started distributing better in the second half, but yeah, concerned about his burst. Concerned about like a lack of lift on his threes.
Mm-hmm.
All season long was like, that's so good. That's such a nice thing to see. Like he's got good touch and arc and just like feeling bouncy from there. And it doesn't feel like as good there, but I did think he bounced back in the second half, distributed well. And I like that he sealed the game with a steal on Luka. I thought that was nice. And yeah, Embiid, did you think he looked okay?
I don't know. I can't tell whether he is.
He looked annoyed at first, for sure.
Yeah.
Like morose and annoyed.
Yes, he looked morose. They looked out of sorts.
Yeah.
Harden, I'm certainly not breaking any news here, but when I mentioned that I was worried about the injury and his, if we remember, 2 years to get over a hamstring injury,
Sure.
Literally 2 years to get over a hamstring injury. I'm watching it with a very keen and worried eye. Now, someone did mention to me that he looked fucking terrible when he came back from injury earlier this year.
Sure.
Which is true. In that first game back, I think it was against the Rockets, right? So I guess that's possible. He could be like Embiid, time off and just, eats and hangs out and gets bad. But I didn't think, I agree with you that Harden looked better in the second half, but did you notice this little thing he was doing? And maybe maybe he does this all the time and I was just watching for it. But he was doing this thing on pick and rolls where he was like, when he was going by Embiid, he was like throwing the ball out in front of him, almost to like cheat because he wasn't getting there quick enough. So he was turning the corner and sort of like throwing the ball out and catching up to it. And it made me really worried. Embiid, I don't know. He didn't look great, but I also didn't think he looked bad. I just thought he looked like he was mailing in the game.
Yeah, until the
yeah.
second half or later
Yep.
in the fourth quarter when he had a really nice block on Luka
Yep.
at the end. Him being able to do that without fouling is very special. And I do think refs give him the benefit of the doubt because he is such a good defensive player that they don't typically call fouls on him for contesting those shots that they call on other guys.
Yep.
He's earned that respect for sure. I don't think he hit a jumper in the first half, or at least I don't remember one. It seemed like the jumper started becoming a weapon more in the second half. Yeah, my favorite play was Embiid has the ball in the post. They're in a zone. Luka comes from his blind side, strips him. Embiid wrestles the ball back, which, if you listen to the podcast for a long time, I've been always very vocal about the fact that Embiid's hands are more weak than the rest of his body. He is not strong with the ball. But for him to wrestle the ball back from him, take a quick shot to beat the shot clock, he misses the shot, but Melton goes hard after the offensive rebound, and then he draws a loose ball foul because of it. I thought that was just a good, a play that the Sixers would happen on the other side against Miami or something when they just get out toughed and out hustled for a play. And it was nice for an almost good play to happen. It was nice that we benefited from that and Embiid played a part in that. Yeah, I mean, I really like the Harden Embiid transition play that ended in the no dribble Euro
Dunk.
Finger roll from Joel. I thought that was very nice.
What dunk am I thinking of? Maybe that was just a
Yeah,
normal pick
he also
and
had
roll
the dunk.
there.
That was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're back on
Jared Vanderbilt looked. Jalen
McDaniels.
Sorry, it's been Jalen McDaniels. I'm sorry, it's been a night. Jalen McDaniels had maybe the worst game of any Sixer this year, I think. Tonight,
He blew lobs from both Harden and Embiid.
Yep,
Which I thought was pretty special.
Niang had his moments both ways. I swear every time he misses a three, I don't say this. I don't think George Niang listens to the pod, but when he misses a three, I want to punch him in the stomach, kind of because I get so irritated with him when he misses a three. That foul at the end of the first quarter, was it the end of the first quarter, right?
That was bad, yeah.
Really bad,
Really bad. Really stupid
the
stuff.
Melton Tobias Harris fast break was our intro video should just be that for over and over again for 1 minute and 3 seconds. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Two guys who are both have their transition issues, finishing issues. Tobias doesn't have trouble finishing himself, but when he is involved in some sort of pair in any transition opportunity, his brain, the wires of his brain catch fire. And it's tough because I'm seeing that play happen. Melton, okay, at least he's either going to get this layup himself or we're going to get a dunk from Tobias. I'm excited about the idea of okay, here's another dunk. We're going to sort of chip this away at our career high for old Toby. And it's both of them. It's torture. They don't know how to do it.
No.
Going back to a couple of things, Niang.
Sorry.
He had the offense was terrible for the first while until really Niang hit a couple threes to get the crowd into it, to get the offense going at all. He finished 4 of 7. When he hits threes, he's a huge asset to this team. So much gravity, gets it off so quick. Has the most touch on threes. It's very helpful. But man, some really stupid stuff on the defensive end. He is both him and PJ are the worst off-ball defenders in the league. Niang had 2 strips, one on Luka, one on Kyrie, which is very impressive. And he just needs to do that kind of stuff. He needs to use his good hands. His hands are the quickest part about him. Nothing else. His hands and his release. Nothing else about him is quick whatsoever. So he needs to have those kinds of plays to just survive out there. PJ, man, he had a steel gift wrap for him. Later, he fell over instead of getting it. He did have
a nice tough layup.
He had a layup. Let's applaud for the layup. Yeah. I'm in this basketball game with a number of some percentage of people.
Sorry. Yeah.
Some percentage of people in this game are like old comedy writers, like in their 50s and 60s, and they like cover each other, and like you got like each team gets 2 of them, and you just like deal with it. And like I know this guy Fred, who I love, you can't give Fred the ball unless he's in like these 2 small areas of the court, or it's just not going to work out. And it's like PJ is like that, and he's PJ on the other end is like Randy, who is always over helping, leaving his man to just sort of like wander, but he's not helping in a helpful way. He's just helping to just be there and leave his man wide open. PJ tags Ksebe, which is really not even tag a rolling Maxi Ksebe, who's really just like hugged him, really just gave him like a hug. Luka swung it to Hardaway in the corner, and PJ was just like, I'm not even gonna try to go out there. And it's like, what are you doing? Just don't leave your guy so often. He leaves his guy so often. And if he just stayed attached to one guy, then I would be like, okay, he's not going to help. He's not going to do stuff, but he's at least going to like make sure that his guy doesn't, every time that his guy touches the ball, he's going to have to work to score. But he just like has this other idea of himself that he's not extremely slow and have short arms, and he can cover the whole court at once, and he just can't. He's he has the lowest steal rate of his career. He's missing all of his threes from his spot. It's brutal. When PJ misses those shots, I don't distrust him in the playoffs. Yeah, I really don't. But like he's been so bad for so much of the year. Not all of the year, but for much of the year he's been horrendous. And it's like when the team looks bad, it's so easy to go to, well, this fucking guy doing nothing. And generating offense for the other team simply, him and Niang, simply by just leaving their guy wide open. And it's really it is torture. It's torture to watch.
Actually, appropriate time. We got this a PJ Tucker voicemail, 833 Lickface, not from PJ Tucker.
Hey guys, Seth from Bethesda here. Sorry CJ got kidnapped, but it will make it easier to fire him. So you got that going for you. I just wanted to let you know that my entire emotional well-being is riding on PJ Tucker at this point. We brought him in here for the playoffs, but right now he is the first domino. He misses 2 3-pointers. We lose to the Warriors. Embiid plays the next day. We get blown out by the Suns. Then Embiid doesn't play against the Nuggets last night. He is the sole human being to blame. You know Harden's going to show up in the Harden-y way. You know Embiid is going to play. You know he's probably going to get hurt at some point, but fight his way through. PJ Tucker needs to be the X factor. And if he doesn't, I will never forgive him for not being able to make a wide open jump shot ever. Ever.
It all rides on PJ Tucker, which is exactly what you want.
I don't agree with that it all rides on him. I just need him to do a little bit more, because it's just like the idea of having 4 guys on the court that on offense that can do anything, and one guy that like is just gonna, be Fred. I love Fred. I love him. And he said he's going to listen to this podcast at some point, and I hope he doesn't listen to this one. I don't want him to feel bad. But like, if he doesn't get the ball in the corner, Fred,
seems like you're trying to.
He's not going to do anything with it. It's just like, and there's not a shot clock in my game. If the shot clock would be going off constantly, it'd be a 90-second shot clock. It's really rough to watch. Like it should, like, and in the same way that you rightfully did not give Matisse the rope to like figure things out the way I wanted him to. Like I was like, okay, we're seeing stuff, and you're just like, hey, he's an NBA player. He's got to be able to like hit a layup. He's got to be able to like hit a wide open shot. Any of that stuff. I feel that way about PJ because PJ is 1,000 years old and he should be able to do this stuff. He should, and he's not as impactful consistently on the defensive end. Sometimes he is, but not consistently. And he just gives up too much stuff, and he doesn't give them anything on the offensive end, and it's brutal. And that's why Doc can't play him in the fourth quarter so much, because they can just leave him. They can just leave him wide open. Their best player, whether it's Giannis or Robert Williams or whoever, can just leave him 20 feet away because they know they can catch up to him, because he is incapable of doing really anything at this point on the offensive end.
He'll be fine. Kornblau and Kornblau. I'm confident. I have to be. Kornblau and Kornblau is the official law firm of the process and the sponsor of the VIP section of Live Ricky 5. Of course, if you get your picture with Paul Reed that night, it will have a Kornblau and Kornblau logo on it. That's what you want out of your personal injury law firm. One that'll sponsor the pictures with the bench center at a podcast live show. Anyway, Kornblau and Kornblau been there for 40 years. I heard a commercial the other day for a personal injury law firm in Philadelphia, and they were bragging about how big they were. And I just thought to myself, how is that a benefit for me? That at your law firm, there are tons and tons and tons of lawyers. What I want is personal service if I'm going to personal injury law firm. And that is what Kornblau and Kornblau provides you. That's why they have some of the biggest medical malpractice results in all of southeastern PA. And it's not just medical malpractice, it's any personal injury, injured at work, car accident, slip and fall, whatever it is. But while the other ones you hear about are bragging about how big they are, I'm going to brag about how personal Kornblau and Kornblau is. When you call, when you email, you get the person we're talking about. You don't get a referral service. You don't get a switchboard. You will get a Kornblau. And he has been so good to so many of our listeners who have other legal questions and need some advice. If you need some advice, if you're injured, don't be a hero. Reach out to Kornblau and Kornblau. Doesn't cost you anything. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam or email kornblau@kornblauandkornblau.com. That is KORNBLAU. If you don't know how to spell it, check the VIP picture from Live Ricky 5. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. Maxey. Can I express one little worry I'm having about Maxey? Maxey seems, and maybe I'm just not used to it, and I still I watch him hitting the threes, and I still don't believe it all the time. It feels like he's not getting to the rim as much as I would like him to, and sort of falling in love with the step back to the side jumper. And I feel like if he would just go to the rim a little bit more, those shots would all come together a little bit more. It feels like he's falling in love with the jumper a little bit.
Well, I think that's the reason why Maxey is. If Maxey was 6'6", he could potentially be the best player in the league. He could grow to become a top 10 player in the league because of how good of a shooter he is, how fast he is. But he's too small, and so there's guys he just can't score against. He can't go to the rim against, and his right hand is so good that. You saw it against Denver. Every time he got to his right, he was scoring. Mm-hmm. He brought them back in the game because it was just him going right. He was 10 of 15 on twos in the Denver game. It was just truly unstoppable. To mention, I had the Denver feed for that game, and they just kept bringing it up. The broadcast was you make him go left, he's gonna probably have to pivot and do a turnaround, and he can hit that. And for a little guy, especially, he's really good in the lane there. But yeah, he's just not big enough to he's not as confident with his left, either with dribbling with the left or finishing with the left as he is with the right. But yeah, I thought in the beginning of this one, it was noticeable how much he was deferring, and I think that's a symptom or an indication of Harden and Embiid are back. Obviously, he's gonna be spreading the floor a little bit more, and his role's gonna change, but. They do need, especially when both of those guys are playing sluggishly. I wish there was a way for them to just convey, hey, both of us are going to be sort of cranky out there tonight.
Yeah.
So it's all you, man. And so eventually he got going and had a bunch of nice plays, and he really is just a special shooter. And I love how money he is from the corner. And I love when Harden just knows Maxey's streaking, and Harden gets a rebound and just sort of Kevin Love chest passes it deep, and Maxey's just going to run under it and catch it for a layup. It's awesome. Yeah. It's a fun play. I thought his defense in the first half was pretty bad, but then he worked really hard on Kyrie in the second, and that was noticeable and made it hard for him. And Kyrie didn't burn him as much as they did in the first half. And then cardinal sin. I bet he's getting talked to about this in the locker room. B-ball screens for Maxey. B-ball rolls. B-ball calls for it. Maxey passes it to him.
And then he drops it and falls.
No, he finished. It was a layup. He got a layup out of it. But Harden's going to pull him aside for that one because, as everybody knows, you can't give when B-ball calls for it. You can't give him the ball. That's a rule. That's the real point guards will know that you can't pass it to an open B-ball, Paul. No, I loved it. Speaking of B-ball, Paul,
What's the one? Harden was the one that passed it to him when he dropped it in the lane. Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was obviously the Denver game was an excellent b-ball Paul game. It didn't bother me as much as it bothered other people that Dedmon started. I didn't if they like b-ball just coming off the bench like
to play with the same groups.
Rhythmically. I think that's totally fine. The idea that I didn't love like we're gonna go small for a little bit because like they're just an incapable. They cannot rebound. They're a team that cannot rebound and cannot protect the rim without Embiid or b-ball Paul out there, and they obviously got decimated in a small ball lineup with PJ out there. PJ, who in 23 minutes against Denver had 0 statistics, but b-ball was awesome. 7 of 7 from the field, 16 points, 9 rebounds, a +5 against Denver, which is big. And I thought he was great tonight. Not obviously not as big. I
loved b-ball tonight. I love his offensive rebounds. I love.
Awesome. He screamed at a ref.
He screamed a ref when he got the call.
When he got the call, beautiful, exactly what you're supposed to do. He did get hit in the head on the first miss. That's why he missed it. But yeah, he has so much energy. He pokes the ball out. He comes away with offensive rebounds. He has been like against all of his instincts, kicking it out after an offensive rebound instead of like I'm going to now break my man down. Yeah, he hates it. The steam is coming out of his ears because he hates it so much. But I think it's solid and helpful. And he's just always going to give you multiple possessions. And like that's a big deal. Like it's not something that should be just like, oh, well, whatever. Like he gets offensive rebounds, but fine. Like he makes things happen on the offensive end, even though he's not super skilled. He did hit a jumper against Denver. He missed one tonight. It's just the offensive rebounding on one end and some finishing level. He's got to get better hands. His hands are a little bit stiff sometimes. But then defense being able to play drop with him because he can protect the rim and also switch. Like he was covering Kyrie, he was covering Luka. Like they're going to hit shots. They're excellent offensive players.
He did a good job on those guys, though.
He did a great job on them, and he's going to force them into taking tough, contested, oftentimes step back, fadeaway jumpers, and that's a win. If you do that against those guys, that is a win. And he did, and you don't need to help out onto him. And whoever is telling anybody, whether it's Dan Burke or what's his name, the former Sacramento coach, Dave Yeager, or Sam Cassell, or Doc, or anybody, Dwayne Jones, anybody, whoever's telling somebody to help Paul on an island, leave Paul on the island. Paul loves the island.
Yeah.
He's from the island of Orlando, and he should be allowed to live there as long as he wants. Don't help. He's awesome. He was huge tonight. And like that's a quintessential b-ball Paul game. We talk about him a lot because the Sixers backup center has been an issue for a while, but 15 minutes, he's not going to play that much in the playoffs. 1 foul. Everybody always says he fouls too much. He doesn't. And even if he does, it doesn't matter because he's going to play 10 to 15 minutes in the playoffs max. 5 points, 5 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, steal and a block, -2. Great. That's all we ask for. He's great. Leave him in. Doc, don't get any fucking ideas. I hate Doc for how much he hates Paul. But I agree. I thought he was awesome tonight. You mentioned Melton. Shake Milton is out of the rotation, which I thought was weird. CJ put it in our private chat that Doc praised Jalen McDaniels. Said he had a wonderful. What did he say, CJ?
Phenomenal.
Don't agree.
No. That's
Don't
not
agree.
true.
I thought his defense was okay, but he definitely didn't have a phenomenal game. He did hit 1 corner 3. It was a little bit of a what's Jalen McDaniels good at game. Like missing a lob here and there is fine, but like
it can't
do
be
it too many times. It's really a tough thing to be your thing. Like Glenn Robinson III was like his lack of availability and just never showing up was his thing. Anyway, I thought it was weird. I think Shake's a good player. He's had a couple bad games. I wish his release was quicker. But like he's a guy that's like when Niang is a liability on one end and PJ Tucker is a liability on the other end. And if Melton is not playing well, like Shake is a guy that like can be at least a slightly above average player on both ends. Not an excellent defensive player, but has at least is long and can guard up sometimes. And so I think it's weird that he's out of the rotation, even though he's not a perfect fit as far as like a quick catch and shoot guy. But yeah, Melton, 5 huge threes tonight. Like I didn't think any of them were going in. But he was 5 of 6 from deep. Those were massive. He was a plus 16 that led the team. Yeah, I thought that was good. We didn't talk about Tobias yet.
It was sort of a
It's a Tobias game, man.
Yeah.
It's a Tobias game. Every like 8 or 9 plays, the team remembers like, oh fuck, he is here. Right.
Yeah.
We should let him touch the ball. We should let him. We should. And it's like they have like a conversation, be like, hey,
does his
Tobias,
thing.
here you go, man. Do your thing. I thought his defense was pretty good. Tobias tonight, at least individual, one-on-one. I think he's fine. Again, like another guy that I don't want helping off of anybody. But I think when it's one-on-one, he's like fine enough. He had a really nice baby hook over Luka when the Mavs were in rotation late. When he got like they swung the ball around, got it to Tobias in the dunker spot, and just gave him like one little bang and then into a baby hook that finished. That was sort of like the stretching the lead. That was a huge play, but yeah, I mean that's the kind of benefit you get from Tobias being like if that was Reggie Bullock for us, like he doesn't. There's nothing he can do in the dunker spot, but because Tobias is like a little bit more advanced as a scorer, even if he's not as like natural of a catch and shoot guy, like he has the defense is breaking down and he can do some stuff. And so that was a big play for him. Yeah, I mean,
That's all the players.
That's all the players. Like I didn't like this game. I didn't have a good time watching it. They did win. The Mavs the Mavs beat them a couple weeks ago. It was a game that they had to have, even though the playoff positioning is what it is. It's still frustrating that they looked as bad as they did a couple of those games, and the like logic of Embiid not coming out for the second half of the Bulls game, then them lying to us about it very obviously, pretending like they didn't, and then him playing a back-to-back and then missing the game of the season. Like that's frustrating. That's frustrating that like the communication level in and out of this team is bad. And they're going to say like, well, we just, he was healthy enough to play, so we played. Like we didn't, it's his call. We didn't really even like talk about it. It was like, if you're good to go, you're good to go. They'd probably say something like that. And I just need them to like think about it more. I need them to be a little bit more.
What are we on now? What are we talking about now? Are we talking about Embiid now and whether he's playing or not? Okay.
Embiid calf. I just need them to be a little bit more intentional about like,
that's not how it works with
your
him.
Star player. It needs to be. Hey, we have a back-to-back right now. You just missed the second half of this game. And you got the biggest game of the season coming up on whatever day it was, Monday.
It's never been that way with him.
But I'm saying it needs to be.
But
I'm saying
it won't be.
Then they're wrong. And that's why, like, when people are pissed at them for him not playing that game, he looked like shit in the whatever the second game of the back-to-back was. Was it the Suns?
Yeah.
He looked bad. Like, he shouldn't have been playing. So it's just very confused. The logic and we're figuring this out and judging this guy of when to play him. They just bungled it, and they can say like it's up to him, but like
it's always been.
They need to. Then he and they whoever is making decisions needs to do a better job of. I agree with you. That's the way it's always been, but like I'm saying it can't be because like that was bad, and he's hurt and not fully healthy. He missed the game of the season that he gives a shit about. I don't really care about other people and paying customers, whatever the fuck, but like Embiid cares about it. And that conversation should have been had. Hey, we have a back-to-back. You're not feeling well. Let's sit one of these so you can play the Denver game. Like that. And he needs to agree with that. Like that had to have happened and it didn't, and it was stupid.
Well, you don't know if it happened. You don't know what they told him. I mean, you don't. I mean, like his entire career has been, we'll do the Embiid thing now. His entire career, every time that we've seen him as a game time decision or questionable, or we don't know, like it's all him. It's all him. This is all his decision. And like for it not to be, he's not a child, right? And this organization, it's not like they're the Pat Riley Miami Heat where there's like directives about what you're going to do and not do with no offense and not trying to trigger you with the Miami Heat stuff. But like, it's never been that way. Daryl Morey's not that kind of a general manager. He's never been that way. Doc Rivers not that kind of coach. Never been that way. Just got to let him fucking play if he wants to play. And the other thing is with him not having an agent, my assumption is, I could be wrong, but my assumption is like the Shams interview plant for him to be MVP or whatever was that I would imagine the Sixers and he have to own. You can't do that and then not play in that fucking game. You can't do it. Man, the number of people were like, all that really matters is the playoffs. Like, shut the fuck up. Of course you want them to play in the playoffs, but you can't do an interview where you say how healthy you are, and that's the difference between this season and every season. Basically call out for Nikola Jokic for not being good at defense, and then basically call them out for winning MVPs and not winning anything, and then not play against Jokic and expect that that's not going to be held against you. Of course it's going to be held against you. And if it was the other way around, if Nikola Jokic did the same thing and then didn't play against Embiid, we wouldn't be going, well, but that other game was the only game that needed to matter.
No, of course. I think everybody agrees that they wish that he had played. And so
not just that I wish, like it's more than that. Like it's
that's why to me it's if you know that there's a big article coming out with one of the biggest Shams, whatever Shams' title is, like he missed the whole second half of the Bulls game. They lied to us about it. Everybody knew it was a lie. Then there was a back-to-back after missing the second half of the game that he played both games of. He looked like dog shit in the second game, and then he missed the last. Like, that was so mishandled. I don't care who is to blame for it, but it was very mishandled generally by everybody. It shouldn't have been the case.
They lied? Why do you think they lied about him not coming back?
Because I think that is their natural tendency. I think they can't help it.
I don't think so. Like,
why do you think they lied?
I think Joel for his entire career has been understandably sensitive about whether people perceive him as being injured or not. And
missing
I think
the biggest game of the season is not going to help that.
No, I agree with you, but like that's we're agreeing on a lot of things. I'm making it sound like, I apologize. I'm making it sound like we're not agreeing. I guess my position is that he has to take more ownership of that. Like, truly at the end of this, in the NBA, if you're a star player, the best player on the team, and you say, I'm playing, then they'll just fucking let you play. The same way that you say, if I'm not playing, that we would appreciate an organization saying, "Hey, you don't feel good. They're not going to force him to play if he doesn't want to." So, he has to take ownership of that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I'm saying I know that I don't know the inner workings of of this decision making, and so I'm just blaming the end result, which is
that's fine.
He leaves, which has never happened before. No, if there's one person in the world who believed that Embiid was like, oh, we're just up by whatever it was, 24 in this Bulls game, I'm just not going to come out. And they're like, yeah, I trust that. I believe it. If there's one person that believed it, that person should be forced to run naked through the streets of Philadelphia. That is the most ridiculous thing in the world. So he's too hurt to come out in the second half of the Bulls game. Maybe he would have played if it was a big game. He was already there, whatever. But he was too hurt to come out to play. Then they should go, okay, we have a back-to-back, and then we have the Denver game. You should play one of these games because you know you want to play with the Denver game. Who knows when that Shams interview took place, but we know it's going to drop the morning of the Denver game. The result has to be, I'm playing in this Denver game. And for it to not happen, it's just like, it's an indictment on everybody. And yeah, if you want to blame Embiid for it mostly, that I'm fine with that. But like, everybody needs to be a part of that decision making, because yes, the playoffs matter the most, but also this other stuff matters. It matters to Joel. Someone should have gotten in his, I don't know how that gets missed. I just don't understand. Like, I'm a guy that, like, I love a plan. I need a plan. I can't just be like, we'll feel it out. Like, it'll be fine, whatever. Because the end result was like, that was dog shit. Like, that was a dog shit end result. To play both games of a back-to-back, to lose both games of the back-to-back, to look like shit in the second end of it, and to not play the Denver game. It's an embarrassing, like, a professional organization and Embiid, whether with an agent or with a more holistic view of things, whatever, that wouldn't happen. That would not happen in a better run situation. I shouldn't have. I would agree. The only thing that I would keep expressing is that I think he has to take more ownership of that. I'm fine with that.
Because eventually they're gonna listen to whatever he has to say in that situation. They're at the end of the day, they're going to default to it. And the excuse I will not allow them, even though I understand the reasoning is because I think Kyle Newbeck said this. He's like, well, the big problem was they lost that Golden State game. And if they had won the Golden State game, then they could, but they didn't. They didn't win the Golden State game. They lost the Golden State game. So if you're going to punt a game, I think we all look at it in retrospect and say that the Phoenix game is the game that you punt and the Giant MVP game. And by the way, it's not, he cares about the MVP. Obviously, he cares about that game.
And so do we, and so do the fans. And
yeah, so the fans care
There's nothing
too.
bad about wanting to win the
big
biggest
game
individual trophy in the
yes.
sport.
Yes. For all of us who yell about it and argue about it and all that kind of shit.
And it would be matters. Yes, it's more than that. Obviously, the Sixers winning a championship is the ultimate goal, but and the ultimate game, but it's not the ultimate game. Otherwise, they wouldn't play it again next year. Yeah. But it is validating for the kind of fan that we are and listen to the podcast and have been around since the fucking beginning of the process, for the guy who didn't play 2 years, who they said be patient for, who the process essentially was named after, and then he took the name for himself. For that guy to win an MVP would be a big deal. Yes. And it's not just like vanity. Like that would be validating in a very satisfying way, and it would be emotional, and it'd be cool. It will be great. And we want that for him. We want that for us. We want that for everybody that got fired in those intervening years.
Not everybody.
Some of the people that got fired in the intervening years. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, he's a great player. When he turns it on, he's excellent. The defense at the beginning of this game looked horrendous across the board.
Love that block on Luka at the end.
I love the block on Luka, but the offense looks sluggish too. Like there's like time for it, but like it's just the team is not going to have an answer for how much they need Embiid on defense. Because when he has to lift, you saw it in the Warriors game, but even Dallas did it. When Embiid has to lift and come up and either cover a pick and roll or switch onto like a big that can shoot, Maxi Kleba kind of thing, like they will just back cut us all day long. It's just so many back cuts. The Warriors got a bunch of it. Phoenix got some. Like there's nobody back there to rim protect, which is partially why I'm in favor of the occasional B-ball Paul at the 4. But they just don't communicate on defense. They're slow. They're still pretty unathletic overall. And small, and they're pretty dumb. They just don't talk, and they just help on whoever off of one pass, wide open 3 all the time, and that is ultimately why. Even though I said I never said I was back. I did say I was in a different place, and with the offense at full strength, I am in a different place. I just have not trusted the defense for a minute this season. And I don't think I'm going to trust it in the playoffs. I think with full effort all the time and focus, we could get there to be better. But I still think like there's not enough cohesion on the defensive end, and there's not enough just like innate talent in 5 guys you could put out there because they're too small, they're too unathletic, or just not very smart.
We have something incredibly important to get to as CJ is back. We'll get to that in a second. There was a picture released on the internet today that was terrifying, that is COVEN or COVEN related. We'll talk about that in a second. Right after we talk about a guy who's going to be very proud that his read is coming right before that segment, is Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. The thing about buying a home right now, and Adam specializes in the Delaware beaches, his team there at Long and Foster, based out of Long and Foster and Bethany Beach, take care of all of Delaware, all of Maryland, and we'll get to PA, New Jersey, New York, all that kind of other stuff in a second. But the thing that is true everywhere, if you're trying to buy a home, is inventory is very, very low. It's a different issue than a couple of years ago when the market was crazy and prices were going through the roof. Right now, there's just not a lot of homes. And having a realtor who really fucking cares and really knows what he's doing is very, very, very important. Adam, especially beach homes, people want those now. You can work from home 2-3 days a week, whatever the fuck. Who wouldn't want to do that at the Delaware beaches where the property taxes are low? Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. As I mentioned, any Delaware shore location, whether it is Lewis, whether it's Bethany, whether it is Rehoboth, all of the places. You want to buy a home down there, Ksebe is your guy. Buy the house, rent it out for 3/4 of the summer. It'll pay your mortgage for the entire year. Then you have an investment and you have a place where you can go on vacation. Adam Ksebe, Ksebe. And by the way, if you're looking to buy or sell a home in PA, New Jersey, New York, anywhere but Delaware or Maryland, Adam can't do that for you specifically, but he is the one that you're going to call or email because he will find the exact right realtor for your situation. He even interviews them to find that person. When I was looking for a home in New Jersey, he did that for me as well. 302-864-8643. 302-864-8643. Adam at processrealtor.com. That is Adam at processrealtor.com. So we were missing CJ on our last pod, and we received a threatening video from an anonymous person of the from the group. Now you have me fucked up. How does he say it? CJ, can you put the video up?
It's got to be Coven.
Can you put the original video up, CJ, in a second? I
don't know if CJ wants to do it. It's a little asking him to do this is a little
So
close to home.
I don't know. I think CJ. Oh, there we go. Here's the video.
This brings me no joy. I am at an undisclosed location, and I am an anonymous member of COVEN.
There we go. COVEN.
I know how he pronounces it. I'm saying this person who is suspiciously similar accent to someone who's been on the show a number of times.
Tony. Yeah.
Pronounces a lot of things wrong. An awful lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
Just because, as does my dad.
Right.
And if my dad pronounced something wrong, even if he was a terrorist, I would correct it.
Right.
And so here I am doing that.
So now we don't know who was behind that mask. However, somebody did point out, CJ, could you bring up when I co-hosted, Mike, when you were out, maybe this was a year ago, Amos co-hosted with me, Tony T came up, and there was an exchange between Tony and CJ that was of note.
Okay.
Who's the fucking hot guy?
CJ, you mean?
Yeah.
CJ, you can pop up, man. I can see you.
What's up, man?
Yo, come closer.
I gotta get my water. I'm a little nervous.
Yo, Tony, what have you been up to, man?
Partying, man.
So we had that, which is certainly of note. And then if you're listening to the pod, this is very important that you see this image that came up. We were fed an image today from an anonymous source on the dark web of this photo right here. It is horrifying. Now, if you're not looking at it, CJ is
that's
on
CJ. That's CJ at the bottom.
Yeah, CJ is on the floor. CJ, I don't know if you can make
in a
that.
kinetic shirt too. That's tough.
Yeah, CJ is blindfolded on the floor of a dirty bathroom. Looks like from Saw.
I like the tile though.
Yeah. Then Tony, or not Tony T, and the anonymous member of COVEN.
You're connecting it. You're making that connection. You're drawing that line.
I'm saying that you would have to be crazy to not notice that he looks similar.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that,
and sounds similar.
and
has been, to my knowledge, in the 10 years of this podcast, the only puppet to be on the podcast.
Well, he's a real guy, though. I mean, I guess puppet. I guess you could say he is a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
So what this anonymous member of COVEN wanted was for us to recount the vote of the Process Hall of Fame. The Daryl Morey podcast, when he was president of the Rockets, from the bubble, beat Tony T's song, which is Me and Kyrie, which was a hit that came out. We said, as I said to you on the last pod, we do not negotiate with terrorists. We have never negotiated with terrorists. That has been a long-standing moral ground that we have held. We did not negotiate. However, CJ is back today.
You know, it's interesting because
CJ, could you pop up for the rest of this?
it's a little bit of a conundrum because I do think had COVEN not kidnapped CJ, that COVEN kidnapping CJ could be inducted to the Process Hall of Fame next year.
Right.
But because we have a rule in the Hall of Fame that no terrorist can be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Long standing.
It's sort of like an Ouroboros. It's like eating itself.
Yeah.
Of like, well, it would be in there, but it wasn't, but it wouldn't exist if it didn't. So that's a real close call for someone that looks and sounds like Tony T. In his quest to make the Process Hall of Fame, he has essentially banned himself from making the Process Hall of Fame.
Right. As of now, as the way it stands now. So, but what we don't have, even though we saw that picture, CJ, could you tell us about assuming you were abducted, how were you treated? How did you get out? How did we end up here?
I mean, for the most part, it was pretty foggy. Looking back on the experience, so I'd rather just kind of go on to the next segment.
Oh no,
that's fine. I do, Mike. I do appreciate you mentioning our Hall of Fame rule, not inducting any terrorist organizations or activities in there.
Yeah,
I do respect that a lot. So thank you for sticking out for that.
Whoa. So you're not going to tell us what happened?
Yeah, no, I'd rather.
Well, he's got the blindfold on the whole time.
Yeah, some things were foggy. I don't remember that part specifically too much, but we're here. I'm back, ready to.
Is there anything to the claim that I heard that you were sopping wet
the entire time?
The entire time you were kept in sort of a wet, foggy, soaking wet room.
Yeah, I mean, I sweat as much as the next guy probably. So
okay.
There might have been a level.
Sweat. Okay.
A mixture, maybe a little bit of both. But I wasn't really thinking about that too much at the time. It was sort of all kind of a blur.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry.
Are we sure it happened? Are we sure he's not involved?
Wow. They're in on it together?
I'm just saying
he won't
even fucking talk about it.
CJ, who'd you vote for the Process Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't vote and tell.
You don't vote and tell?
No, I keep my votes to myself.
Wow.
Specifically for.
I need to submit a FOIA request for CJ's voting record. I'm going to contact the Dem Govs.
I was going to say check IP addresses, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know if you could even do that. I should have threatened you.
Interesting. Well, I'm sorry that it happened.
Yeah.
Either to you or by you. And I'm sorry to the listeners that have left.
52 minutes in, we're good.
Yeah, we're actually doing quite well. All right, a couple of emails and voicemails before we get out of there. The COVEN thing is not wrapped up yet. Obviously, if someone's going to kidnap our producer to adjust something on the podcast, we're going to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. So I will not rest until we find out what the hell happened to CJ.
We're going to prosecute.
Yes, we will, as an organization, we will prosecute.
Okay.
Writes Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. This comes from Isaac. My name is Isaac, and I'm a big fan. On the last pod, someone left a voicemail and asked what your favorite cereal was. Both of you dodged the question, which makes me think something suspicious is going on. My non-basketball question is, what is your favorite cereal, and why did you duck this question the last time?
Wow.
I don't think we ducked it. I think it was just a long voicemail or something. Do you have a favorite cereal? I don't eat cereal any. It's been a long time since I've regularly eaten cereal, but I do know what my favorite is.
I would say if I had there's a bunch, and I go through phases.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, you know what? My mom's gonna know. I really liked Alphabets. As a kid. Alphabets, that's right.
Yeah, they're good.
I really liked Alphabets as a kid. I had a lot of that. I also liked a Smacks.
Honey Smacks.
Yep.
Which I think they changed the name From Honey Smacks to something else.
Well, there was Golden Grams. Those are separate.
No, Golden Grams are my favorite. Yeah.
And there's one other one that I can't remember what I liked, but I haven't had those. I haven't had those in a while.
I actually love frosted mini wheats too.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah.
Those are good. The texture of those is easily the best.
Yeah. And I like that I feel full after that. Most cereals, when I eat the cereal, I could eat 17 bowls of cereal and not feel full. But frosted mini wheats, I feel like I've eaten something.
Yeah. I will say those when those get too sopping wet, we're in like CJ. They become very tasteless and bad. Also
Especially
like
when they're sopping wet with their own sweat.
Mm-hmm.
833 lick face.
They don't put that on the box.
No.
Frosted mini wheats will sweat.
Hey guys. First time, long time. This is Rafael from Venezuela. Venezuela from South America, not Minnesota. For some reason, Americans tend to get that wrong. So all I wanted to say was there's no way you guys can negotiate with terrorists. Last time the Sixers negotiated with terrorists, they ended with Markelle Fultz instead of Jason Tatum and sending an extra pick to get Matisse Thybulle. So just no negotiating with terrorists.
Mike, I think the most interesting thing about that call is that his suggestion that people in the United States first think of Minnesota when they think of Venezuela.
I guess they sound similar, kind of.
I don't know. I don't.
I do like the indication that Danny Ainge is a terrorist. That is something that I agree with, and we'll ride for all the time.
Of course. Writes to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Writes to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. This comes from Ezra. The basketball question: Paul Reed is 4th in the league in offensive boards per 36.
Hell yeah.
That's his non-basketball question. What is your favorite nickname for farts or farting? Do you have one? Cutting the cheese, tooting. When I was in grade school, we called it beefing. Did you ever call it a beef?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't think I have a favorite. I don't think I do. I like saying toot. I think toot is fun.
Yeah. Let's do one more voicemail. 833 Lickface. How about this one? I don't even know what this one is.
Hey guys, William from Virginia. Basketball. A few years ago, Doc Rivers didn't play Maxey very much in the regular season, then kind of turned him loose in the playoffs. Do you think he has any surprises like that for this year's playoffs? And more importantly, non-basketball. If you found yourself as a homeless person, would you try to rob a bank knowing that you either would get away with it and not be homeless, or you would go to jail where you had a bed and food provided for you? Thanks.
It's a good plan.
No, jail doesn't seem great. I would probably not go all the way to bank. I would probably try to rob something else smaller and easier to rob.
Yeah. Robbing a bank seems hard. Like you're probably not going to get away with it.
Yeah.
I've seen it in movies a lot. Like they press the button.
They press the button and they look like they didn't press the button. As I was prepared to commit a lot of murder. I don't think I would be doing that.
No. I don't think Doc has anything up his sleeve aside from
maybe robbing a bank.
Dedmon's going to start a playoff game.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if Embiid, I think if Embiid is injured at any point, I do think that there's a decent chance that is what happens. Yeah,
decent 99.
He might play like 7 minutes, but I think he'll probably
Oh, we'll end on this one because it says Jaden Springer in the title. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it is Springer related. And I was
going to bring him up anyway, so may as well do it.
833 Lickface.
Hey guys, it's Nick from Australia here. So that Nuggets game was pretty annoying, the Joel Embiid situation. But the positive to come out of it is Mike was absolutely right. Jaden Springer can play ball. And I don't know why we ever doubted Mike, given that that guy called him the greatest basketball mind to ever exist, or whatever the quote was, something like that. He develops the 3 ball, him and Maxey. That's going to be good. Keep McDaniels, keep Springer. When we go out in the second round this year, sure, everyone, half the team will leave. Joel will probably request a trade, but Maxey, Springer, McDaniels, this could work. Anyway, bye.
What an international flavor to the voicemails today.
Yeah. Venezuela, Australia. Maybe Doc's big surprise for the playoffs is Jaden Springer minutes. What do you think?
It arguably should be.
You would argue.
I would argue, and I would argue
COVEN
correctly.
And you're going to kidnap Doc Rivers' producer and hold him until Doc plays Jaden Springer during the playoffs.
He looked so good on defense. He locked up Jamal Murray and preventing them from scoring, got them back in the game. We didn't talk about the Denver game that much, but an impressive near comeback. There was never a chance they would actually win. I do actually respect Doc staying with those guys that brought him back in. I love getting Korkmaz some minutes. They looked good. Springer is just he's an excellent defensive player. He fights around screens. He slides his feet so well. I did hate it. Korkmaz helped on a couple of those plays, and I'm like, buddy, you're not helping. We should name help something else. Because oftentimes it's of no help whatsoever. That's frustrating to me. But I love Jaden Springer. I do just want for one goddamn garbage time a ball to be swung to him and he goes up and shoots it. That is the one thing preventing him from being an NBA player right now. So I would like to see that. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to get him in the rotation next year. But the defense plays. He's a strong player. The difference between him, so Doc's been doing Daniel House for these one possessions, and I don't think Dan House is listening, and I think Jaden Springer is coachable, and if Doc told Jaden Springer, do not shoot, do not do anything aside from guard this guy the entire time, don't let him breathe, and don't help off of him. I think he could do that. Daniel House is going to freelance a little bit. I don't think so. I believe in Jaden Springer, meaningful playoff, not minute, but 10 seconds.
Steal. Yeah, well, I think you'll get 10 seconds at one point. What did we get? 1 minute of
Zaire,
right?
Yep.
You got a minute of Zaire.
Yep. So. Got to use those guys. Phillies just went out and got Christian Pache. You got to use your fast guys, your guys that play defense. You got to use them.
That guy's like the Matisse of baseball, right? That guy that just
not a good hitter at all.
Yeah.
But he's young. He's 24. I like having a little more defense. We'll see.
That's all we got. Who do they play Friday night? Do we play? We play Boston on Tuesday, right?
We got the Final Four, women and men's Final Four, Friday, Saturday. That's going to be good. But yes, Sixers, Raptors on Friday.
Oh, right.
And then Sixers, Bucks, Sunday night.
Yes. And then the Celtics on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Fucking
really,
gauntlet, buddy.
It's a gauntlet.
And
then the Heat and the Hawks, and then that's the season.
Yeah. Wow. And then the Nets,
and then
Live Ricky 5. By the way, how many... Jesus. Last time I checked, Kyle tweeted this. B-Ball Paul had scored 59 fewer points than Ben Simmons on the year. And how many did B-Ball score tonight? 6?
5.
5. So he scored 54 fewer points. So he has 6 games to score 54 points.
I don't think he's going to get there.
Unless the last 2 games don't matter for some reason and he plays 25 minutes each game.
Maybe. That's something to root for if the Tobias dunk evolution doesn't happen.
Would love to talk to him about it at Live Ricky 5 that he outscored Ben Simmons. I'm sure that won't be awkward at all.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll talk to you Saturday morning. Welcome back, CJ, even though we don't know what happened. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.